Hello and welcome to the Tennessee Informer. I'm your host, Dave Vance. Our special guest tonight is Representative Todd Warner. He represents District 92. He's a small business owner who has a construction company. He's a farmer, attends the local Church of Christ, and is married and has 3 children. Representative Warner is attempting to help get some good legislation passed here in Tennessee to prevent potential abuses by state law enforcement personnel working with federal agencies. Representative Warner, thanks for being with us on such short notice.
Good evening, Dave. It's great to be with you this afternoon.
Well, I'm sure you've had another busy day up there, and I know you were busy yesterday working on this bill.
Very, very busy day today and yesterday. And it looks like we have a big day tomorrow on the House floor.
Okay. So the main bill I want to focus on before we get to the vouchers is House Bill 2912, Senate Bill 2804 by Senator Hensley. And we've got it popped up there now. This is the amendment that was heard in committee yesterday. I understand this amendment, which made the bill, is going to be amended itself. But
right.
This is just kind of lays out the parameters. So I'll just let you talk about the intent of the bill, and then you can kind of talk about what happened in committee and where we're headed at from here.
Well, of course, we had the intent of the bill. We had some testimony yesterday from a former FBI agent, Steve Friend, and another gentleman that had been arrested at an abortion clinic. And what this bill seeks to do, Dave, is it seeks to limit our local law enforcement when there is an investigation going on where there hadn't been a crime committed. So I'm talking about moms going to school board meetings. I'm talking about the Catholic Church. I'm talking about people that just showed up at January 6th, not people that entered the Capitol. Talking about people that stood out on the lawn, that went to some of the events that, to hear some of the speeches that were given that day. Those people were being targeted, and sometimes what they do is they pull our local law enforcement in to those investigations, and they take away from our business that needs to be taken care of in Tennessee. As you know, crime is on the rise all across the nation, and sometimes these police officers are pulled away, and when they're taken away from the local sheriff's department, they also lose. They cannot report to that sheriff directly. They've got, they don't have, that sheriff may not have security clearance, so they're reporting directly to the FBI. And there was some good testimony given yesterday in committee. You can go back to the General Assembly website and watch some of that. There was quite a bit of question and answers going back and forth. As they say up here, we felt a cool breeze blowing that the bill may be, headed down the wrong path. And I asked the chairman to roll me to the Hill, which there was a very long calendar, and we did not get to the Hill. So it will give me a chance to amend this. The Department of Safety and the TBI spoke out against the bill. They did not like the language. I tried to work with them on the language prior to the bill being heard in committee, but we could not get to a point where we both agreed on what the bill actually done. So we're going to come back with an amendment next week. And what basically this amendment is going to say is, if the FBI wants to come in here and they want to take a couple of deputies, let's say from Marshall County, and put them on a task force for the FBI to help them with a investigation that may be going on in Marshall County or surrounding counties, what they would have to do, what this amendment's going to say, is that they have to get permission from the sheriff to do that. Right now, they can come in, they can pull those deputies, they can pull law enforcement, and they really don't have to get that permission to do so. And it just helps create some transparency. I know we've all heard cases, we've seen it on the news, of how much the Department of Justice and the FBI has been weaponized. We've seen what they've done to our great president, Donald Trump, and we're just looking to stop this frivolous kind of stuff from going on in our state. Sure, if there's a crime, serious crime that's been committed, we want the FBI, we want to help them, we want to participate in those type of things, but we don't want them coming down and getting Aunt Annie for going down to the school board meeting and labeling her as a domestic terrorist. And And a lot of times that's what's happening, and that's what we're looking to stop here.
Right.
And that's what we were seeking to do with this bill, and we're going to try to work on it a little bit more and see if we can get it through committee and headed in the right direction, maybe to the House floor.
So, but this was the task force involving anti-terror issues, not just normal law enforcement task force or drug task force or anything like this. Was just specifically those that were going to be involved
mainly dealing with domestic terrorists,
right,
or stopping somebody from getting labeled, like the situations I talked about. Sure, if there's a serious threat of terrorism fixing to happen in Tennessee, first of all, I think the FBI should contact that local sheriff and let him know what's going on, right, instead of hiding it from him or maybe not sharing it with him. But secondly, I would definitely want the deputies to work with FBI in a case like that.
Well, I don't think your bill prevented that. It just, as I understood the bill, it just would not allow them to be part of the anti-terror task force. Nothing in the bill prevented them from coming and alerting your local sheriff, hey, we've got these bad actors in your area, or we think you're going to be in your area. This is what they're doing. This is what we're looking. Nothing in the bill, nothing, would prevent them from doing that. It's just, as I understood it, they would no longer allow their deputies to be part of that specific task force. They could still be part of a task force.
That's kind of the way we understood it. The Department of Safety and the TBI, they seen it a different way. And again, I had a bill one time that dealt with this, and we run into this a lot up here. And we have taxpayer-funded lobbyists lobbying against our legislation that the constituents of the great state of Tennessee sent us up here to pass. And these people, they don't have to file a disclosure like normal lobbyists do, and that's something I have a problem with. It's something we run into a lot down here when it comes to some stuff that the administration don't like. Right. They will send these lobbyists over and they work against our bills, and I have a big problem with that. And I tried to run a bill one time to fix it, but that was one of those bills that dies like of a second, or the chairman tells you before you get to committee, you don't have a motion or a second. So do you go in there and you get embarrassed, or you just, you back the dogs off for a little bit till you maybe change some members or something,
Right. Well, now, so what were the objections of the TBI? And did you say the Sheriff's Association?
The Sheriff's Association did not testify. I never heard from them. I don't think they had a problem with it. Okay. I think it was just the Department of Safety and the TBI. Their problem, they said it was going to limit them to work with the FBI on criminal stuff. But we didn't see it that way. And I'll read you let me just read you the last paragraph of the bill. It says Section C, and we had the TBI in here, and I added this paragraph just for him. It says, this section does not prohibit the direct sharing of information for the investigative purposes or participation in fusion centers. This act shall take effect on becoming laws. So to me, that paragraph right there did not prohibit them from sharing information. And but they had a problem with it. I felt that the bill, like I say, they were about to shoot the bill down and kill it. So I'm going to make an amendment, try to make it a little bit better. I think it was fine the way it was, but we had our leader Lamberth. He had some serious concerns, and when leadership has concerns with bills, sometimes they tend to fail.
They have a short lifespan. Well, I want to read this because, and I understand you guys are going to make an amendment to that, but it sounds to me like they really mischaracterized your bill. They ignored the plain language of the bill. And part one says, and of course this was a caption bill, so this was going to make the bill,
right,
is amended by adding the following as a new section. An officer employed by a law enforcement agency within this state may participate in Federal Bureau of criminal investigations, operations, and task force details, but only as permitted by this section. B, and this is the section they're referencing, in the event a law enforcement agency within this state nominates personnel to be deputized as a federal task force officer, the nominee is limited to matters involving Title 18 and Title 21 of the U.S. Code and must only engage in relevant law enforcement activities pertaining to violations of criminal law. The nominee shall not assist the FBI in national security investigations or operations. Further, the nominee must not be a member of an FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force. So it was just the Joint Terrorism Task Force, because that's where the concern comes in about, they have all pretty much labeled anybody now that has traditional beliefs and values, anybody that's a Trump supporter, they pretty much.
Anybody that believes government overreaches. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're
you
right.
There,
you're right. Yeah.
Anybody and he stated, the FBI stated that yesterday. If the government thinks, or you're a believer that the government has too much overreach, you can be labeled as a domestic terrorist, and that's sad, because I think we all believe at times government has way too much overreach.
Oh yeah. If you don't believe that, you're not paying attention.
Exactly right.
And so that's what it was designed for, to prevent because people have to understand, if they become part of a joint terrorism task force, now you're talking national security, they have a clearance. They're going to report to the task force. They're not reporting to the sheriff. And oh, by the way, they can't tell that sheriff anything that's classified.
Exactly. They can't tell him nothing. He don't have the clearance if he didn't get on the task force himself, so they can't share any information with him.
Right. So.
And the sheriffs are elected by us, and they're to answer to the people. And I felt like this was a great piece of legislation. We're gonna water it down some just to try to get something through. Maybe we build on it next year. But I was disappointed that it got headed in the wrong direction. I felt like going into the committee that we had the votes, but it seemed to, once he got into committee, it seemed to start, going the other way. So, but right. I had worked the bill. I had talked to several members of the committee and felt I had the votes before I got in there, but things kind of seemed to go south once some people got to talking.
Right. Well, it sounds to me like they mischaracterized it. And they had to just ignore the plain language. They had to ignore what the witnesses said. And so I'm glad you brought it up. I'm glad you're bringing it back, and it's alive for another week, because I think people really need to make a call on this. They need to call everybody on that committee and say that we need this, because the bottom line is, and when I did have Steve on this show, Steve Friend, about a week and a half ago.
Yeah, great guy. Great guy.
Absolutely. And so a lot of the tyrannical things that we hear about the federal government doing, in this case, this would be with the assistance of the state. So the federal government's not going to be able to be tyrannical without our state being complicit. And so this is trying to prevent our state from being complicit in those kind of things.
Right, exactly.
I would think every sheriff would be on board.
When we put things like this in motion and pass this kind of stuff, it kind of limits the federal government. I think people get it wrong a lot of times. It's we the people, we the state, that make up we the federal government. It ain't we the federal government, we the states, that make up we the people. So we've kind of got it backwards.
Oh, I agree 100%. And I think I've heard that there was also some concern of loss of funding for overtime, and I'm sure there's other benefits that they didn't want to lose.
Steve says that once you get on these task force, the overtime, you get they pay a lot of overtime, and I don't know how that works. If all that money goes directly to the sheriff deputy itself, or does it go back to the county, to the department? I'm not sure how all that plays back out. But Steve did mention that there's an ungodly amount of overtime that's paid on these type cases when this kind of stuff is involved.
Well, that's kind of concerning that overtime pay would be the determining factor of whether or not a sheriff is going to even have knowledge of what one of his employees are doing. And it's not like if you don't have somebody assigned to their task force, does that mean that, well, since you don't have anybody assigned to your task force, even though we know there's terrorists operating in your area, we're not going to let you know about it, or you can't use the fusion center. So that's what they seem to be saying, that if you don't have one of your guys in our task force, then we're not going to let you know if there's anything bad going on. Is that their argument?
Well, that wasn't the state's argument. The state was acting like if they knew something that was going on, that they couldn't share it. I think that was the argument that they were trying to make, that they couldn't work with them. But this bill, it did not seek to stop that. They just, I think they were gasping for straws, and I knew they had been to Leader Lambert's office. I went up there. I'd seen them all outside his office. I was up there on some other business, seeing another member, and Department of Safety and the TBI was up there, and I knew they were working really hard to try to kill the bill.
Right. Well, did Steve get a lot of questions from the different members of the committee?
He got quite a bit of questions, and I think some of them didn't quite understand at times. Maybe, and there was a lot of it that I didn't understand. There was a lot of new terminology that the FBI uses that I wasn't aware of, and some of it it was very interesting, and you might need to listen to it a time or two to really understand what he was saying. Some of the acronyms, some of the ways that to give you for instance, they are some of the bureaus. They have what's the word I'm looking for? They have so many cases that they got to open. A
quota. They have a quota.
Quota, yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. Just like maybe our troopers have a quota, how many tickets they need to write a month. Well, evidently the FBI's got a quota on how many domestic terrorist cases that they've got to open up, and he testified to that and gave some testimony on that. There was a lot of good stuff. If you got time to go back and go to the General Assembly's website, then click over to the House and go to the videos, and you can pull up yesterday's Criminal Justice Subcommittee and find that video. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it sounds.
And you may have something you can refer your viewers back to where Steve was on your show that gives them some good information about what's going on.
Yeah, he covered. Well, I haven't seen the second video from the committee meeting yesterday. I saw the first portion, and of course you guys had to break until the full committee was through and you came back in. I haven't seen the second one. I did talk to somebody about it. But we had Steve on last week, and he was very thorough. So yeah, I definitely recommend that everybody look at that. And by the way, I did send that video to Leader Lambert, so he has it. Whether or not he's looked at it, I don't know, but he does have it.
Right. And I'll give a shout out to the chairman of the committee, Representative Clay Doggett from down in Pulaski. He's very fair. He worked with me on the bill. He tried to help me, and I do need to give him a shout out. And there were several other members, but I think we'll get somewhere with it. But it ain't as far as we really wanted to get. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Clay is one of the good guys, that's for sure. Well, I hope we get this passed. Thank you for running it. There's another hot topic right now in our state. With all the things we got going on and things in our state and our country, Governor Lee is focused on vouchers.
We are focused on vouchers down there. It is the topic right now, and it's been a hot one. And I've never seen the mudslinging and the attack start so soon. And we are in a campaign season about to kick off, but usually that kind of stuff don't start till after we get out of session. And they have unleashed the dogs up here, let me tell you.
So you oppose vouchers. So just tell everybody why you oppose them and what kind of opposition are you getting from the establishment?
When I ran 4 years ago, I'm in my second term. When I ran 4 years ago, I ran, against vouchers. I'm all for parents' rights. I'm all for school choice, but I just don't think we should be taking money out of our public school system and giving it to private schools. I'm not sure that the private schools are at the end of the day are going to want this money. Dave, have you ever seen the federal government, or not the federal, this is state money here. They're calling it just state money. But have you ever seen government give money away without strings attached?
Usually it's chains or ropes, not just strings.
Exactly. Yeah. This is an entitlement program. And let me tell you what the governor's done. The governor, which his bill, and people need to understand, we're actually talking about the school voucher bill, but it's really three different bills right now. The governor has his bill. The Senate bill is, I think, pretty similar to the governor's, or could be the governor's bill. Then you have the House version, and that's where all the pork is it in the House version. So what they've done, Dave, is that they have put a lot of money in there for public school money in this bill to try to, to what I call it enticement, or if you really want to use the right word, it's a bribery bill.
Right.
you vote for the vouchers. You're a rural school district that don't have a private school. We're going to give you some money, you know. And what I think we should be doing here in the state, and what we normally do in the state, is we cut these bills down and let each part of the bill, each merit, stand on its own. You know, this bill is going to cost the taxpayers. They're and I think they're way underestimating this. I think the House version has a fiscal note of about $480 million. The first 2 years, if you make over $120,000 the first 2 years, you cannot get this money. That's definitely an entitlement program. I believe at the end of the day, the state will be sued over it. I believe illegals will be able to get this money. It's corporate welfare.
Yep.
A lot of these private schools and that are private or they're not run by a church, that are just private schools. I mean, they are for-profit schools. We're going to take Tennessee taxpayers and we're going to give that money to a for-profit business. And I'm for fixing our public schools. If they're in that bad of shape, let's fix them. We're spending $10 billion a year of Tennessee taxpayers going to our K through 12 education. Let's fix it. Let's hold somebody accountable.
I agree with that. But let me ask you this real quick before I forget. If what the private schools are doing is so good, and I don't doubt that it is, why can't we just replicate that? Why can't our state replicate that? Or come close to it?
That's an absolutely great question. Why can't we just do what they're doing then? If they're so good, if that's the right thing to do, let's don't spend all this money sending these kids. Let's replicate what the private schools are doing. Let's learn from them. But you know, we haven't got there yet. Another thing this thing is going to do, Dave, was some other questions I raised in committee, and we're seeing it in Arizona. You know, they want to reference Arizona a little bit on this bill. You have LGBTQ. You already have Muslim schools in Memphis. I think there's a couple here in Nashville. Mm-hmm. I don't know what they teach. I'm for parents' choice. Send your kid where you want to go. But I'm not sure all the Tennesseans want our money's, their taxpayer dollars, going to these type of schools that's maybe not teaching the values that the majority of us share.
Yeah, well, we have enough trouble in our public schools. We can't even get the garbage out of our public schools. Our state government cannot even get porn and obscenity out of our public schools. I mean, it seems to me that way too often the laws in Tennessee, the T in the Tennessee laws seems to stand for toothless, because we pass these laws that are supposed to fix these kind of problems, yet we pass a law, everybody beats their chest, and nothing changes. And
nobody does nothing.
That's right. And in some cases, teachers and administrators have even been blatant and have even said, I'm not going to follow that. And nothing happened to them.
Nothing happened to them. Of course, you got tenure, and I'm not a big fan of tenure, but I do get it, I guess. But, I've never worked anywhere where I was guaranteed, that, I was going to be there tomorrow, but for the most part, our public schools, they've done a great job. I know we've got areas that need to be worked on. I just want to see us focus on that. 90 to 95% of our future leaders, our future business owners, they're coming from the public sector. They're coming from the public schools. So why do we want to get it? Why do we want to take away from it?
Yeah, well, yeah. And our state is, by the Constitution, has to provide 70% of the funding. So we're going to continue. Our state is basically saying, hey, look, the public schools that we fund, they're inadequate, they're substandard. So we're going to keep funding them, and then we're going to spend some more money to send some people's kids to private schools. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, me neither. And that's the reason I've spoken. I've been probably out, the one on the Republican side that spoke out the most against it, and I've received a lot of attacks on it. And another thing, a problem I got with this, Dave, is this just came through two committees that I sat on, and I've asked the new education commissioner here in the state several questions, and I've yet to get a straight answer. I don't know if you've been able to see any of those committees, but one question was, I downloaded an application from the state of Arizona. I sent it to the commissioner's office. I sent it to the chairman's office to make sure the commissioner gets this. I want to ask her some questions about this application. She gets in committee. I get ready to ask the questions, and I asked commissioner, had she seen the application? And she had not. So to be fair to her, one of her staff members had replied to the email that he had gotten the application. So I asked him the question. I said, sir, can you please review this application, or if you had a chance, tell me what's missing from this application. 3-page application is not very, it's not very much on the application. 2 pages, a little bit of financial information, and the other one's a little biography about the student or your child or whatnot. And he thought a minute. He said, sir, Representative Warner, you didn't tell me what I was looking for. I said, what? He said, you didn't tell me what I was supposed to be looking for. And I'm thinking in my head, I didn't say this in committee, so you wanted me to give you the tests and the answers, Well, let me tell you what's missing, Dave. What's missing is there's no box to check whether you're here legal or not. That's the first thing that was missing on the application that I noticed. There's no box. And they're telling us all the time that they're presenting this bill in committee that illegals can't get it. Well, and I know Tennessee don't have an application. I get that. But this is where I'm going with this. Then I asked Commissioner, I said, Commissioner, you've heard the question, and I understand you didn't get to see the application, but you've heard the question. I said, will you promise the taxpayers of Tennessee that when the application is ready for Tennessee, that there will be a box to check whether you are a U.S. citizen or not? And she would not answer the question. She danced all around it. I said, ma'am, this is a yes or no answer. Tell us, will you make sure that box is on there to check? She would not do it. She danced around it. She could not answer the question. So that creates doubt for me right there.
Yeah.
Just something just as simple as that. The governor sold this thing, or as he traveled around the state, tried to sell this thing as competition makes everyone better. Competition makes everything better. Everyone better. I asked her, I said, Commissioner Reynolds, give me 3 examples how this bill, how competition with this bill will make my schools in Marshall County better. She could not give me one answer. Could not give me one answer, Dave, on how competition was going to make our public schools better by giving this money away. There was another. I asked her, have you ever been in charge, or have you ever ran a program like this, been involved in a program like this? Absolutely not. That's the only thing she did say no, that she had not done. She'd never been involved. So we brought somebody from our previous commissioner from California, this commissioner from Texas, and she may know public education better than I think she does. But when you can't answer simple questions like that, when we're fixing to spend $500 million, then I've got some issues with it. And I guess the biggest thing that bothers me out of this whole deal, and of course I'm a rep, I'm not governor, but you would think that we would want to hire people from within this state that share Tennessee values to run our Department of Education. We have people here that are well qualified to do that. Why is the need to go to Texas, to go to California, and bring those people in here? Tell me that, Dave. Help me understand.
Makes no sense to me. Of course, not much that Bill Lee has done has made a whole lot of sense to me. So that's probably not a fair question. But that's the other thing, too. The commissioners, we've just had one crappy commissioner after another. I mean, and there really needs to be some sort of process other than just the governor appoints. They need some sort of a board to approve these people or throw these people out.
They definitely need to be vetted. I don't know. I don't know what the process. I know the governor gets to appoint them, but what process they vet these people, I'm not sure. But we need. I just feel that we're better off with Tennessee folks. We have many folks here across this great state that are qualified to do this job, right? And know what our students need here in Tennessee.
Yeah. So what kind of pushback are you getting from the leadership?
I've gotten a little. They said I was a little hard on a couple of reps that maybe in committee. I didn't think I was. I'd let them know up front that I'd ran on, against vouchers, and that I had some questions that I had to ask. My district does not have a private school in it. I represent all of Marshall County and the southern portion of Williamson County. Williamson County and Marshall County have some of the best schools in the state, and I'm just not going to, I come down here to fight for my district. And at the end of the day, when the state starts taking money, and this is what a lot of people don't, a lot of people may not realize, when the state starts taking money away from the local school district, the local school district in return is going to have to do something to make that money up. And what they do, what most districts do to fund their schools, especially these rural districts, they got to raise property taxes.
Right.
On all of us. And I just see at the end of the day that this is a bad deal. Yeah. To have the state paying for private education, especially when we're spending $10 billion on our public. And if it's that bad, like you said, we got to start making some changes somewhere.
Yeah. Well, and this whole idea, they say have the money follow the kid, and they say, well, they almost make it sound like it's the parents' tax dollars. Well, it is the parents' tax dollars. It's everybody else's tax dollars too.
Exactly. What are we doing?
Yeah. So I don't have kids in the district anymore, but that doesn't affect my tax bill. So apparently, it's not my money. So.
And somebody made a good point to me the other day, a constituent. He says, his kids go to public school. He says, my kid's not riding the school bus every morning. Should I go down here to the county and ask for a $1,500 refund this year because they're not having to bus my kid for school?
Right.
That's the kind of questions you get on some of this stuff when we start, paying for some of them. And I don't know. To me, it's a bad bill. This is Washington style pork politics is brought to the conservative doorstep of Tennessee. Yeah. And it is a shame. Yeah. To me, I can't get there. Yeah. And I'm getting hammered. If you want to get on that, well,
we're going to talk about that in just a second, but I kind of want to set the stage on that. So a lot of people may not understand, but the Tennessee legislature, our capital up there in Nashville, is essentially the biggest brothel in the state, okay? Funded a lot with money from the Chamber of Commerce and NFIB, and we have three main madams up there. We've got the governor, we've got our perverted lieutenant governor, who should have been booted from leadership last year, Senator McNally, and then we have Speaker Sexton, and I'm glad to hear that you're not at his beck and call, let's put it that way.
You probably put it the right way.
And that's what happens a lot. And a lot of people get up there and forget that they are supposed to represent the people in their district. First off, they're supposed to uphold both the state and U.S. Constitution. That's their first responsibility. And then if it comes down to something that maybe is not a constitutional issue, well, they got to listen to what their district wants. Not what exactly. Bill I started to say Haslam, and there's not a whole lot of difference, but not what Bill Lee wants, not what Sexton wants, or what McNally wants, but what their district wants.
Right. At the end of the day, you answer to your constituents, and that's what I've tried to do. I've tried to do what my district wants, and from what I can understand from my district, more people are against this thing,
right?
And or against spending the state money. To the private schools. And again, like I said earlier, I think at the end of the day, the private schools, when they start attaching strings to this, I think that you're going to see some of them refuse to take the money.
Yeah. Well, and of course, you're getting some, some mail in your district from AFP, usually known as Americans for Prosperity.
We renamed them. They're Americans for Pork now.
Well, I like that one. But now mine, and this is one I've had for a while because if you don't know, AFP is funded by the Koch brothers. Koch brothers are pro-illegal immigration. And AFP, I call it Amnesty for Pedro, okay? But I also like the Americans for Pork. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And
and they got to have, and another thing that they done, why in the world would you have jumped on Nikki Haley's back? Why would you have rode that horse to town, huh?
Wow. They did a lot of anti-Trump stuff as well. In addition, just being for Haley is, that's like a red flag right there.
That is a red flag. We had the one of the best presidents this country's ever seen in Donald Trump.
Right.
He done more as far as making this economy move. I mean, we were energy independent. I know we're getting off topic here a little bit, but I had a undercover drug agent tell me that they could not buy methamphetamine off the street when the border was shut down. Border opens back up, and look what kind of crisis we got now.
Yeah. We've
got an absolute mess.
Yeah. And so AFP has given you a real hard time, I guess, threatening you and doing all this stuff, which, that's the...
Oh, it's part of politics.
That's part of politics. I got it.
Yeah. But I vote with AFP about 99.9% of the time, and one issue we don't agree on, they act like that, I'm the worst guy it ever was,
Right.
And it's just, if that's what they got to do, I think I'm fine at the end of the day. And they get me out of here, then so be it. They done their job. But I tell you what, I ain't going down without a fight. I can promise you that.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like your district is supporting you, and I think that's what's important. And I just want to put this out, okay? AFP, I followed them for a while, and I'm not saying they don't do anything good, but I tell you what, if you're not familiar with it, there is a website, dailyrollcall.com, and it's not showing up right now. There we go. Okay. This is from dailyrollcall.com. This is a couple years ago. And the title is, Why is the Tennessee Conservative Giving Cover to Non-Conservative Tennessee Chapter of Americans for Prosperity, AFP, okay? Now, this was 2 years ago when Tennessee Conservative, now look, Tennessee Conservative News, they do some good stuff. There are some good people on there. They make us aware of a lot of things, but they had an event 2 years ago with AFP, and some people tried to tell them, hey, AFP's pro-amnesty. And basically they just got blown off about that. Well, just this past week, they have a rally, an anti-illegal alien rally, and who do they have there? They have AFP. And what does the spokesman for AFP, Pamela Furr, say? She's up there praising Catholic Charities, who not only is the point of contact for all the refugees that come to our country who are here legally, unfortunately, they're here, but also bring in a lot of, they also help facilitate the illegal aliens coming into this country.
Right.
So AFP, I don't know, I think you have to take them with a grain of salt, but I would encourage everybody to go read that article. It lays out the connections. It's not just a matter of the Koch brothers being pro-amnesty, okay? You will see that the current leader, Tory Venable, wrote an article in 2019 that was in reference to finding common ground with illegal aliens, worked with a group called the Libra Institute, which is all about amnesty. All right, so really got to be careful who you partner up with. Well, hey, I want to keep. True. I don't want to keep you. I know you're on a tight schedule. I appreciate you coming on at short notice. Anything else you want to say before we close?
I think I'm good, Dave. I appreciate it. I've enjoyed the conversation. I hope the listeners have. And please reach out to your state reps. We love hearing from our constituents, and let them know what your thoughts on this school choice.
Absolutely. And the it's being called the FBI bill.
Yes, the FBI bill. Yeah, yes.
And that'll be in committee Tuesday. Do you know what time it's scheduled for?
They're rolling those. I'm not. I think it's 10 o'clock. If we'll be on the end of the calendar, so
okay.
They could have two committees again. I still think they got several bills left in that, so I think a committee will start at 10. It'll go probably an hour and a half. Then if they have to pick up again, it'll be that afternoon again.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks again for coming on. Good luck with your legislation. Appreciate you standing up.
Thank you for what you're doing, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to watch our program. Please be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons as well as the notification bell to stay informed about upcoming shows. As a reminder, you can now listen to us as a podcast on Spreaker.com. You can find all the audio-only podcasts of your favorite episodes on our website, TennesseeInformer.com, or do a search for Tennessee Informer on Spreaker.com, where you can also download the Spreaker app for Android or Apple phones. Excited to announce the Tennessee Informer podcast are now available to listen to on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and other podcast platforms. Take a moment to check out and follow our Facebook page at TN Informer. We post news and information about upcoming shows on there, as well as on our website, tninformer.com. You can also sign up for a weekly newsletter there. We're on Twitter as well at twitter.com/TNInformer. Please share us with your friends so they can stay up to date on all the conservative political news and issues concerning our great state. Our guest next week will be Stephen Curtis from Wormhaven Technology. Hope you'll join us. That's it for now, and good night from Paris, Tennessee, that is.